Today's episode is brought to you by the folks over at SeatGeek, the best and easiest to use ticket platform out there. They take the confusion out of buying tickets using a 0 to 10 scoring system and a green is good, red is bad color rating system so you and your loved ones get the best deal possible. So whether it's going to see our beloved Redlegs at Great American Ballpark, the Bengals over at Paycor, FC Cincinnati, one of the area college teams, or pretty much anything in between, use promo code Riverfront at checkout and receive $20 off your first order. Click the link in the show notes to download the app and get started. That's Riverfront, one word, for $20 off.
You're muted, Joe.
All
right, Joe's having a little bit of technical difficulties right now.
Yeah, he's stepping out, going to step back in.
Yeah.
Well, I can't believe J.C. Latham already went, guys.
Yeah, it just went there. Did you see
Just went.
Penix? They're thinking Penix to the Falcons, Joe said.
Wow.
Is that what they're saying on there?
I thought Latham would be there when the Bengals picked.
Hey.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
There he is.
There he is.
There's Joe.
Every time I go live, I have some stupid, awful connectivity issue or connectivity issues, microphone issues, whatever. Anyway, hey, we're here. Welcome to the jungle. It is draft day. We are live. We are brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network and presented, as always, by the Riverfront. I am your friendly host, Joe Farsing. Down on the bottom right is my co-host, Parker Fields. We are joined by luminaries today. Brightest minds in Cincinnati Bengals from all corners of Ohio. They'll be on later. I mean, you guys are... Seth Shaner, host of Redleg Roundtable. Seth, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty
Awesome.
good
Glad
today.
you were here joining us. And the Podfather himself, Bill Lack. Bill, what's up, buddy?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Again, always a pleasure to talk to you. You have a little bit different perspective as you are older than the franchise, unlike the rest of us. So,
ouch.
Yeah, saw my first game at Nippert in '68. So,
wow.
And just to head off here, we just had the first shock pick of the draft.
Totally.
Falcons went Michael Penix Jr. after just trading for Kirk Cousins. Like, I get Kirk Cousins isn't a long-term pick. He's, he's not a young player. I mean, he was drafted in 2011, so he's in his mid-30s. But there's plenty of other needs for them to go, and they went with I don't know. What do you guys think about that one, real quick?
I mean, if they just signed Kirk Cousins to a fairly decent contract, and Penix isn't young. That's the other thing. He's not one of these guys that came out after just 3 years of college. I mean, he's already 23, 24 at least.
He's about to turn 24 in like a week and a half.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a better arm than Kirk Cousins. I will tell you that. And he's faster.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. A lot of money to tie up at the quarterback position.
Yes, that's right, Bill.
This pick doesn't make much sense to me.
The other thing that I like is I've been seeing rumors that they were going to go to Murphy with this pick, and that gets us past somebody that might have taken a guy that the Bengals want.
Well,
yeah,
Joe,
I don't think the commissioner's back is going to make it through this first round.
No,
I think somebody's going to snap him like a twig. Not that
there
would
will
be
a lot of people upset if something happens to the commissioner. I'm not advocating violence, but
King Roger the First.
Yeah, it would be a tragedy if he were to go down on his big night, the one night where he at least gets some cheers, I guess, or at least as a part of some joy.
I don't know if you saw Caleb Williams. He came in with an aggressive dap up after he was
Oh
the
yeah,
first pick.
absolutely.
I was like, he's about to knock Goodell out after that. I was like, oh my god.
That was fierce. I will absolutely give them that.
Joe and I were talking before we went on. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Joe and I were talking before we went on the air. What do you guys think of Caleb Williams?
My son is 13 years old, Bill, and I have not shared this with him. I'm not influencing him at all. And 3 times today, independently, he told me he's a fraud. Caleb Williams is a fraud. And I mean, he's 13, so that's my son. But I see enough, and I'm not one of these guys that's going to say, oh, he paints his nails and he ran and sat in mommy's lap when he didn't win the game. Those things that might be a bygone era, my era, your era. I'm in my mid 40s. The tough guy stuff was way more important back when I was growing up, but it's not even because of that. I don't know. I don't know if I see it all there. I think you win more this past season if he was really that transcendent of a player.
There was a lot of talk, and I was telling Bill before. I don't know if this was PFF. I was watching a breakdown from one of the guys grinding tape, and he never had to read the entire field.
No,
it was half field, and it was maybe one look, maybe a second progression, and pull it down. The one thing that I just saw that kind of makes me wonder: Falcons are under major investigation for tampering with Kirk Cousins. Is there something more? Like they couldn't have gotten that for insurance. Like they wouldn't void the contract or the trade or anything, would they?
I couldn't imagine that happening.
That would be crazy.
How many years was the deal? Wasn't it 4 years? I want to say, or was it 3?
It's fake. I mean, they're all the deal lengths and everything are fake.
Well, yeah. They could probably get out of it pretty easy after 2.
Yeah.
But no, back with Caleb Williams, I guess I think footwork's more important maybe than some people do. I see him just dance around a lot and not set his feet. I'm not Mel Kiper or some of these guys, but when I watch him play, that's just what I see. But
the big thing to me is maturity. I mean, and I know he's young and he's a kid, but he just seems like an immature kid to me. And some of that is the things you were talking about, Seth. They're getting crying after losing a game and all that. I mean, sure, you're going to be upset. I was, and I told this to Joe. I read one of the coaches or scouts or something said he would be if Prince played football.
Well, Prince was a workaholic, so that might be a good thing, I guess.
Apparently, he was a dynamite basketball player too.
Immensely talented, but
yes. Now, but then Jaden Daniels, when he goes up on stage, I know they were on NFL Network. They were bragging about how he's a legit 207 pounds, but he looks so slight to me.
He's got some lbs to put on.
Boy, I don't know. This whole quarterback class is being much ballyhooed, but I wonder what we're going to see in about 5 years, what we're going to think of it.
Bears picked Rome Odunze. That is a great pick to pair. Again, like whatever you think of Caleb Williams, whether you think that's, the right quarterback, bringing in an absolute stud receiver to pair with your rookie quarterback, like that's how you build a roster. That's a really smart move right there.
I agree. The Bears have gone all in, at least. Like, if he fails, it's going to be because of him. It's not going to be because they didn't, surround him with the right weapons and everything around him.
For sure.
Let me ask you something, Joe. How are you getting these picks so quickly?
I have Twitter up and I have PFF. Like I have their live draft tracker. So I'm not watching ESPN. I'm not watching the NFL Network. So.
I'm even on Twitter, and I'm like, I don't see that yet.
I'm trying not to be up ahead of everybody, but
heard it here first.
Yeah,
there you go.
Exactly.
But I guess if you go to Odunze and you think about what the Bears have done these last 2 years, it reminds me a little bit of what the Bengals did leading into Carson Palmer. And they had linemen and they had receivers already there and that sort of thing. And they've got a decent tight end, I guess. But they've got players around Caleb Williams. Not every number 1 overall draft pick team has that many good offensive players ready to put into the system with the new quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you're usually you get the number one pick for a reason because granted they didn't earn the number one pick. That was the Panthers pick that they traded out of last year. But I don't know. Like I like the idea. I mean, the Bengals did that in 2011. They got AJ Green first, and then doubled up and got Andy Dalton in the second round. Palmer had walked in with Chad Johnson. Chad Johnson wasn't that number one stud receiver at the time, but Hushmanzada was in the building, and they had guys there. So,
well, they had good offensive linemen. They had Corey Dillon at first, and then Rudy Johnson. I mean, they had it in place for him. So
got a first trade, huh?
Yeah,
the Vikings trading up, Jets trading back. That makes sense to me. Where the Vikings?
You think they go McCarthy here then?
Bo Nix?
Quarterback would be Bo Nix.
If it's a quarterback, man, this is going to look like the 2011. I mean, we talked about Andy Dalton. This is going to look like the 2011 quarterback draft. I think, to where there's a lot of guys that went in the first round that aren't very good, or 2021. Was it 2021 with Zach Wilson and Trey Lance? Yeah.
We'll take all the quarterbacks ahead of the Bengals pick, right? We're all for that.
Exactly.
You know?
There is. I mean, we're still waiting for our first defensive pick, and we're on pick 10.
When you said the first shock of the draft was Penix, I thought you were, because I was still behind, I thought you were going to say Latham going so high at 7. That happened right when we started to go on air.
That was
Latham going that high, the second OT pick. That's something else.
The only reason that I wasn't as shocked by that is because there was a lot of grumblings that a lot of rumors that the Chargers were looking at Latham. And also the best tackle. So I mean, they went with they got the best guy there at the spot. But I'm actually kind of glad. I'm not none of us are tape grinders, and we're not offensive lineman guys. But just off of a vibe, I don't know, something about Latham. I don't care for him. And Mims worries me because he doesn't have a lot of snaps. Now, if he were the pick, he'd be able to sit behind and maybe be the swing tackle if need be. He wouldn't have to step right in, but we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll see.
Vikings went McCarthy.
Oh boy,
there we go. So, jumping ahead a little bit, Brock Bowers still sitting there past the couple spots where they thought he might go.
Yeah.
Where did the Jets slip to? Where was the Vikings pick?
Just went down 1.
Okay, so they could still take him.
Yeah. It's funny that just looking at PFF when they have the needs, they have wide receiver as a need. Didn't they just bring in like 35 guys that were all over 30 that all played with Aaron Rodgers at some point? And they still need to pick, and they've got Garrett Wilson. Like, that's.
Well, they were on their last legs last year when they thought they would play with Aaron Rodgers. So
yeah,
who knows if they're still there?
Cobb.
No, he's a free agent. He's a free agent.
Is he okay?
I was gonna say, is Cobb still there?
I think the Jets are probably going to go offensive tackle here.
They should.
Yeah, that's my guess.
So that would be 3 off the board then.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be Fuaga, if it's going to be Faotanu. I'm having to go back over these. I got to pull back up my pronunciation guide again, Parker.
Yeah, that's what
this was fun last week trying to go over all these because there's a lot of just Pacific Islander names, and there's just a lot of vowels, and it's
the linemen were hard to pronounce.
Trying to be respectful when I try to, I'm trying to pronounce these guys' names properly because but it's not easy, man. There's Olu Fashanu. Okay, I can get his name, but Eliza Fuaga, I think he's the tackle, maybe guard. We shall see. But
I've taken to just saying the Oregon State guy, the Washington guy, the Penn State guy.
Exactly. Joey Ganitza here. Gentlemen, put in place being a Commanders fan, excited about Daniels. Yeah, I think, again, I think Daniels is going to be the best quarterback out of this draft. We shall see.
I will say their offensive coordinator, he knows what he wants, right? So he couldn't go all the way up and get Williams, but if he wanted Daniels, that's probably going to fit best with their system. For
a guy that runs the spread, more used to a spread attack, I think that the Daniels fits in there really, really well. Hey, what are your guys' thoughts on Trey Hendrickson? On his on that bombshell dropped yesterday. Really weird, right?
Very weird.
Yeah, and I, you've already pointed out a few of the holes that have been poked through that on our Slack channel. I liked. I'm trying to find it here, but I'm not going to see it. I like, Chris Garber made a good point yesterday, but
don't give him too much credit. He stiffed me tonight.
Oh, Chris. Well, I thought the point he made was really good, and it just seemed like an agent just trying to make noise and throw something out there. And see, look, I'm working for you, client. So I just. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And is that true what you retweeted or what you shared earlier, Joe, that technically they couldn't even do an extension yet because they just did the one less than a year ago?
You can't sign another contract extension, or renegotiation until 12 months after. Now, that doesn't mean that negotiations and talks can't happen and you can't agree to a deal and then just not put pen to paper until July 27th when he actually signed it. Honestly, you wonder if this is maybe Trey Hendrickson just realizing that his representation screwed him over last year. Yeah, the top of the market hasn't gone up. Like it's not as if a bunch of guys. Daniil Hunter is probably the only guy in his class that got paid, and he's making 25, I think, a year. That's comparable, same age, 29. And he only got him 15 million last year. And yeah, does he deserve more? Absolutely. But I don't know, why did you agree to the deal last year? You didn't have, he had a great year, but it's not as if this year, I don't know. It's just weird, came out of nowhere. And
I always struggle with that he outperformed his contract argument. It's not like you sign a contract saying you're going to be average. And right. If you have a bad year, you don't give money back.
Yeah.
So he signed that contract. I struggle with the fact less than a year after signing a contract, he's complaining about it.
Did you see also he said something about retirement? If he doesn't get a contract situation fixed, retirement was mentioned, which I just think is crazy.
Yeah, he's going to walk away from $30 million.
Yeah. If you were the Bengals and you had to pay one of them, who would you pay? T or Hendrickson?
Hendrickson.
Yeah. But that saying he's going to retire, saying these things, that's kind of
anyway.
It's kind of the bingo card, right? Of threats in the off season, right? Let me check this box. I could retire. Garber said the agent's quotes make it sound like this was client driven. I imagine him calling Trey tonight and saying, "Well, we gave it a shot." I don't know. Do you think, riding on the wall, getting older, he's dealt with the back injuries over time and feels beat up more and more each year? You think he's just seeing the end a little closer than he'd like and trying to cash in as much as he can, I guess, right?
He still has $31 million. What's that?
He's got no leverage.
Right.
No,
contract, he's got no leverage. This is just hot air talking to me.
And what team is he dealing with too, Bill? Sense. Right? What team is he dealing with? The Bengals aren't going to move on this.
They're not going to pay him.
Well, they let Carson Palmer sit for how long before they
They've made one trade that they didn't, that they made because they felt they had to make the trade, and that was Carlos Dunlap. Trading Carson Palmer. They were going to let him sit, retire. I don't care. The only reason that they made the trade is because they were absolutely blown away by their super secret double agent, Hugh Jackson.
He comes back the next year on the staff.
Double secret probation.
Right. Just crazy, secret. He tried to help them out a couple years later when they tried to
AJ.
When they tried to AJ McCarron for a second rounder, I think, until they screwed up the paperwork. I think the Browns front office did that on purpose. Of it. Yeah, front office no, we're not doing this. Sorry, we didn't get the paperwork in on time. So, we're still waiting to see who the Jets are picking.
Yeah, this pick is taking forever.
I know.
What do you got? If Bowers, I have a question. If Bowers does fall to 18, do you think we take him?
I hope not.
I don't think so because because if Joe Burrow put a high value on the tight end position, they would have signed a high value tight end in free agency one of the last 2 years. Or last year was literally a generational best tight end draft in history. Like the amount of talent, the amount of
anybody.
pass catchers, and didn't pick anybody. So I'm not going to say it'll never happen because I mean, it's stuff can change, and maybe they realize maybe they just if you need somebody full term, you can't go year to year with everybody. I mean, you went from CJ Uzama to 1 year of Hayden Hurst to 1 year of Irv Smith / Tanner Hudson. Now you have Gesicki for 1 year. You need a long term solution to actually, build having the program.
My only counter to that is that if they really buy into the idea that he's more of a replacement for your slot receiver, and the other thing we need to remember too is while it's basically still the same in the building philosophy on offense, the offense coordinator is different.
Yeah.
So he might have some ways to try to work 2 tight end sets more, having one of those actually be more of a slot receiver.
And that's kind of what Gesicki is. He doesn't block. If he's on the field, he's running patterns.
But he's only
Me and Joe talked about that too. We said like if we did draft Bowers, it would be more of like a slot receiver type deal than him blocking in the trenches a lot.
But the other side, if you're trying to pay multiple guys these big contracts, there's this argument about tight end not being a premium position, right? And you don't waste a first rounder on it. But the other side is even on the second contract, if Bowers becomes a good tight end, he's going to make 15% less than the elite receiver makes. Travis Kelce makes 15 or 17 million. T. Higgins is going to make 23 this year. So even the second contract could be less money for that tight end on the 5th year option and the full contract.
Yeah.
Well, my problem with the idea of it picking is it doesn't address our biggest need, and it looks like at least right now it looks like our biggest need, the players that they're interested in, are going to be on the board.
By the way, Jets went with Olu Fashanu, tackle out of Penn State. Again, that's we kind of figured they were going to go tackle, so that's a smart pick for them.
But you're right, Bill. That means a lot of pieces or a lot of chips will still be there at 18.
Right.
Still waiting for the first defensive player to be picked.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Broncos need quarterback, wide receiver, and a center. Like those are their first. Those are the 3 biggest needs. So odds are they're staying on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know what quarterback. I mean, Bo Nix is the next quarterback on the board, and
I like him.
Do you think he's a good player? Is he a first-round quarterback?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's more of a first-round quarterback to me than McCarthy is. Yeah,
probably. I don't disagree with you there. I'd go Adonai Mitchell. If you want somebody on the offensive side, there's no one in the interior. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade back unless they go edge or something, because they do need edge and get Leatu Latu or Burst or somebody like that.
Everybody can always use edge rushers.
Yeah, that's why
you never have too many.
Yeah, even if there was no friction with Trey Hendrickson and they just spent a first-round pick on Myles Murphy, who I think is going to have a fantastic year. Hubbard's back from surgery. The annual Joseph Osai conversation about how he's going to,
this is the year.
Right. If there's an edge that can't miss, that's right there, you take him. I don't care. You bring those guys in waves. Some of the guys can move inside to, can move inside and rush from tackle on passing situations. Like Murphy's big enough to do that. So just bring him on waves. You see what happened the Seahawks game when the Bengals, even with their not so great defensive line, they just absolutely wore down that last drive. Just kept putting pressure on Geno Smith, and they were in his face pretty much every snap. 2 guys in the offensive backfield. So
if Mitchell's at cornerback is still hanging there at 18, do you think there's any chance they go cornerback?
Cornerbacks never. I mean, Bengals have a very, very long history of drafting cornerbacks in their first round. You got Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell and Terrion Arnold. All 3 of those guys are in the top 15 on PFF's big board. I go off PFF a lot because I just think they crunch tape a lot with a lot more discerning eye than guys on ESPN and CBS. So pardon my the numbers and everything that I give off. So what do you? I mean,
I'm curious what the Broncos are going to do here. Yeah. I'm really curious what the Broncos are going to do. I'm over here refreshing every 2 seconds trying to see what they're going to do.
Again, I wouldn't.
You think Wilson's going to get a legit chance to win that starting job over Stidham?
I mean,
Because like it's not like Jarrett Stidham's
Yeah, but
established.
yeah, but who cares?
I know.
That's a bad quarterback room. Who's the other guy they have there? They've got 3.
Oh, picks in.
They kept
Wait,
the pick. Okay.
Actually,
who's
no,
the
it's not in
quarterback?
yet.
Bo Nix.
Is that who
Is
they
it?
went? Oh, okay.
They haven't. Did they go Bo Nix?
They went Bo
That's
Nix.
what Albert Breer is reporting.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
they
that's
went
on the
Bo
board.
Nix.
Okay, keep
Wow.
There you
keep
go. There you go,
taking
Bill.
more quarterbacks, man.
Oh,
So, I mean,
I
think
you
that
called
was,
that, Bill. You called that.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Nice job.
Well, I won't say I called it. I just said I like what I've seen in Nix. I liked him at Auburn, and then we went to Oregon and got even better.
I mean, you're playing for 2 good offensive systems there that develop, that develop guys really well. So
What's that? Five first-round quarterbacks already in the top 12?
let's see. We got Bo Nix. We got McCarthy. I think that's 6.
You know,
Penix,
hey
that's
guys,
6. Yeah, that's
first
6.
3
I'm
picks,
wrong.
and then Penix, McCarthy, and Bo Nix. And you know why the Broncos picked that? Who's the very next pick? Like, what team has the very next pick?
Raiders.
What do they need?
they need a quarterback.
Exactly. There's a huge drop off from Bo Nix.
But you know, now that this has happened, hindsight being 2020, it makes a lot of sense because Bo Nix at Oregon threw a lot of short passes. And if you think about the Drew Brees offense in New Orleans when Sean Payton was there, it was a lot of quick, get rid of the ball, get rid of the ball, get rid of the ball. Marcus Colston became a star down there in New Orleans. And I mean, if you're going to take somebody that's going to fit your system, then I would say Bo Nix does that.
So Drew Brees got a Super Bowl ring for a guy I went to high school with, right tackle, Zach Strief.
Oh, yeah.
So,
In Westerville South, Lance Moore played at Toledo. He was on that team as well.
Yeah, he was went from good old Milford High School to Northwestern and was starting right tackle. He was huge, man. He was I mean, he was a freshman when I was a senior, and he was still like, I mean, I'm 6'1", I'm not short, but he, 3 years my younger, still towered over me, like, damn, big boy, dude. Okay, so now what do the Raiders do?
That first defensive guy, right?
I know. And I think the Raiders might go offensive lineman. So I think the Bengals might not even have that guy, that offensive lineman there, unless they want to go, they like I can see them going Mims because of the size. I mean, he's enormous, and as of late, the Bengals, like, they're just absolute mountains there on at tackle. But
was anybody else surprised that they didn't make a change at offensive line coach?
Yes and no.
I was.
Yeah, like, I think they should have, yes, but like we talked about earlier, the Bengals wasn't that shocked they didn't make a move, to be honest. No.
The only, I'm guessing that Dan Pitcher went to bat for him. New offensive coordinator, and he's comfortable with him, and the system that Pollock wants to run is probably, or the style of offensive lineman that Pitcher Pollock has probably jives with with what Dan Pitcher wants to do. So not surprised. I mean, Bengals love continuity, so.
Yeah, but they've been ragged on about their offensive line for umpteen years now, and it doesn't get better from year to year. You can't fire the whole offensive line.
And the talent has gotten a lot better too. The talent's gotten a lot better, but the performance hasn't gotten that much better.
I agree.
That's a cohesive unit, at least.
A lot of that's on Duke Tobin because how many draft pick whiffs did they have?
Good amount.
Oh yeah, that position for sure.
And besides draft pick whiffs and guys that they brought in from free agency that just didn't pan out. Bring in guys from and you're just cycling guys year after year after year because you're not able to keep. I mean, who's their best offensive lineman who was their best offensive lineman last year? Harris. Yeah. Harris is a middle of the road center. Like he's fine. Like he's like, you can win a lot of games with someone as good, with someone as good as Ted Karras, but he's an average starting center.
Yeah,
and
the other problem
is, what's that?
The other problem is Trent Brown was a good signing for when they got him in this free agency cycle, but he's got the same injury history some of these other guys do, and if he only plays 12 games this year, it won't be a surprise.
Yeah. Are you guys expecting Orlando Brown Jr. to perform better this season? Be a little bit better?
Was he bad?
He wasn't bad, but like it's just like, I mean, the guy was a Pro Bowler every single season before that, pretty much in his career. That's what I'm saying.
I think they got him on the down.
Definitely, I know his PFF grades definitely dipped a good amount from what they were at.
He was still a middle of the road tackle, and he's. I mean, they want guys that are huge, that can anchor and can just stand up and give a pocket. He's going to struggle against quick guys because he doesn't have the speed. Because again, he's 6'8", 345 pounds, and Trent Brown.
And so is the guy on the other side.
Well, he's 6'8", 365 pounds. Like, my God. But I mean, you see what they want, and I think they're happy with what they got out of him. You want someone who's a little bit more, consistent, I guess, but he's fine. I'm okay with him as the tackle for the Bengals. Raiders are taking a little while here.
Yeah.
But where do you guys you got you got $20? Who you throwing on them? This late they're making a pick. They would have traded by now if they weren't if they're going to trade out, they would have made that move already.
The 3 receivers are gone and 6 quarterbacks are gone.
I think they take the kid from Oregon State, the tackle.
Talise
Faluga or whatever.
I'm going to pull up those damn notes so I've got the pronunciation guide.
Pronunciations are hilarious. Nobody knows how the hell to say it.
But I've heard even like Fashanu, I've heard that named 6 different ways. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, how many years did it take us to get used to Tunga Vailoa? Like, and
go way back. Natu Tagovailoa.
Mm-hmm.
When was he around?
Always like Marcus Tui Isosopo.
Yeah. Chris Fuamatu Ma'afala.
Bad Malafala.
Yeah.
Got to be real careful when you're saying that one on live television.
Right, exactly.
But wasn't that Berman? Wasn't that what he called him?
Yeah. Raiders went Brock Bowers after they just got Michael Myers.
Wow, 2 years in a row.
What?
Michael Mayer. Michael
Mayer. Michael Myers. Wrong guy.
Yeah. Wrong.
He's a
wrong
local kid,
Michael.
so you think that's the guy's name.
And neither of them are really blocking tight ends.
No,
at all.
That's weird. I mean, that makes the decision easier. Some Bengals don't have to worry about that. Okay, I've got the pronunciation guide. Talisa Fuaga. There we go.
Well, that's much easier than we were making it.
I thought so.
Boy, yeah. Bo Nix has about 50 people at his party. Wow.
I guess they're going to be running a lot of 2 tight end sets. I'm going to
12 formation. I want the Bengals to run 12 formation.
Minshew likes throwing the ball to his tight ends. If they're going to go with Minshew, I know in his career he's had a lot of success throwing the ball to tight ends.
But typically you're talking about a blocking tight end and a pass catching tight end. You're
not exactly. They're both. I mean, yeah.
That's weird.
I know in 2019, Ohio State had Jeremy Ruckert was their best pass catching tight end, but Farrell played on the line more, and they ran a lot of 12 that year, and it was fun to watch.
I think Burrow would absolutely cook if the Bengals had the ability to run 12, and I think they do with Hudson. And,
I think this they do.
Drew Sample, but Hudson is another guy who's not out there to he's not out there to block. I think he had 6 pass blocking reps all season.
Yeah,
or 6 run blocking reps all season.
But Sample and Gesicki out there together, that'll look good.
Yeah, and just bring those guys in, and it just makes you. It keeps you from being predictable.
Well, and who knows what they do with the Tyler Boyd spot, because you talk about being predictable. It was Boyd, Higgins, and Chase on the field. 83% of the time or so. I mean.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that reliable slot receiver, and now that just becomes your de facto tight end position on your second tight end, then you're right. Less predictable, but you have more instances where you can put them out there.
Are we sure that Parker and who's the tight end, the kid that came off the taxi squad last year?
Tanner Hudson.
Hudson. That they're not counting on the two of them replacing Boyd.
That's what I'm wondering. I mean,
that's kind of what I
that
think.
might. Yeah, because Hudson showed a lot of flashes in the receiving game. Like, he was really good towards the end of that season.
Right. Yep. He and Gesicki are not blockers. They're not going to line up right on the line.
And you got Sample to take some of those blocking responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
See, Joey Gaditza is wondering if they're going to take Thomas Jr. maybe at LSU.
What's the injury thing on him?
I think it was a shoulder injury.
I heard this morning it might knock him out of the first round.
Yeah, there was his medicals were flagged.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want him going wide receiver in the first round anyway.
Not with the guys that are left. I don't like. I think there are guys that are still good, but there are guys that they can get in round 2, round 3, even in day 3. They're going to be quality. I mean, there's so many every year now. It seems like there are 20 wide receivers that can step in and immediately take immediately make a pretty good impact. So what was the it says medical reasons. It doesn't say what the issue is. Oh, shoulder situation. Okay, yeah. Risk here is considered relatively minimal. Players may have to have the shoulder repaired after the season, but still,
A friend of mine texted this evening and said, "Sounds like OT or DL for round 1." And I told him, "Yeah, kind of boring, but if you find the right guy, you're set for years." And he says, "I'm good with boring. No more John Ross."
Just make sure they don't draft Xavier Worthy. That would be the concern.
No.
That is the John Ross 1-for-1 trade right there.
That's the marker, isn't it? Yep.
Yeah.
Me and Joe were talking about that. We're like, even taking Worthy with like a middle round pick is just going to scar our fan base, even though it's not a top. It's a middle round pick here. It's not a top 10 pick. Like, it's not that big a deal, but like, it'll scar our fan base for sure.
Yeah. I think there's a possibility the Bengals actually bring back Tyler Boyd because he's still out there.
Yeah.
I don't like. To me, that's not a like. If you bring him back to be your slot guy, like he wasn't very good last year. He's not fast. He's not great being able to beat man-to-man coverage. He's great sitting down in zones, but his hands and concentration suffered last year. So
yeah. I'm sad that my memory of him is going to be that Texans game.
And that's you don't want to put an entire loss on one person because the defense wasn't good and they let Noah Brown just absolutely just sit down 20 yards downfield.
I forgot about that Noah Brown game.
But even after all that, wide open, like he's wide open in the end zone, third down, like pass right to man. But then again, Bengals just let him drive right down and kick an easy field goal. So,
boy, Joe Mixon had to be having some sort of deja vu in that game. Noah Brown had 4 touchdowns for Ohio State against Oklahoma back in 2016, and that got Noah Brown drafted. I don't know if he would have been drafted, and he's turned into an okay career, but he certainly didn't expect to do what he did against the Bengals this past year.
Yeah, and they get to talk about it as teammates now.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that? Like the fact that Bengals were just going to let him go, and then we're able to trade him, and it was only 7th rounder.
I just can't believe they gave him so much money too.
Right.
That's the thing that got me.
Running backs got paid, and like good for them. Like I'm not a pay running backs guy. I'm every 4 years draft a guy in the 2nd round, draft another guy in like the 3rd or 4th, or draft someone on day 3, and just let them fight it out, and then let them leave in free agency. I don't want to spend money because you can find guys, but like the fact that you redid his deal when he still had a decent, like he was still making pretty decent money for a running back. I think he's going to have better numbers with the Texans. I think they run a scheme that's a little better suited for him, but this guy still falls down on first contact way too often. He's too much lean and he doesn't break away. I think I can think of one time in the past 3 years that he was able to break free of a tackle and break free was against the Bills on Sunday night. It was 3rd down. They were trying to just get the first down, and he broke. Actually, outraced someone to the corner, I ended up going out of bounds, but it's but they got the first down and they were able to just salt it away. So
I think you shared that with me when we did the free agency show. You were like,
yeah,
check that video out. I was like, oh my goodness, you're right, he did.
Saints do go with Talisa Fuaga. So now
The guy from Washington.
Yeah, Oregon State.
Still no defense.
Still no defense. Colts. I think the Colts are going to go cornerback here. They need cornerbacks. There's plenty of guys out there that are top. We're up to pick 15, and there are 3 guys in PFF's top 14 available in Dejon Mitchell and Terrion Arnold. This is setting up good for defensive line for the Bengals.
Which one do you want?
I would be happy with Murphy. I would be happy with Johnny Newton. Honestly, I don't care much for the Texas Longhorns. So give me. I can't think of a Longhorn that has made a good impact for the Bengals in a long time. Still waiting for Joe Osai.
The Jordan Shipley era wasn't
right. That's the last guy that I think made any impact at all, and he almost got decapitated by
Shipley.
Round safety. I can't remember who it was. Ended up going to Broncos. God, who was that? Just absolutely lit him up in the end zone, like headhunted. And
yeah. But if you think about it, though, the Texas has not had anyone in the draft for 10 years. I mean, this run they're on right now is producing some guys, but all those years somebody says it's Texas back, and there were no first-round picks, and there were hardly any draft picks overall.
When you're getting laughed by the by my UC Bearcats and draft capital being spent, like I love my Bearcats, and I'm glad that they're getting, but Texas Longhorns should never have fewer draft picks than the Bearcats and like Louisville.
Wildcats have been getting more draft picks than them recently, like the last few years. Kentucky, we've been getting more draft picks than them recently the last few years too, over Texas, which should never happen.
Yeah,
like you said.
Yeah, I go with Murphy.
Yeah, this is setting up, especially. I mean, there are offensive tackles in the second round. Kingsley and I'm Sue that tackle from Brigham Young. I think he's a good guy to look after in the second round. So I would absolutely love for the Bengals. I mean, Bengals are set up to get a solid. I mean, shit, Latu's still on the board. Turner from Alabama still on the board. Murphy. I mean, they're going to have their choice of defensive standouts to pick from.
It's really odd to me that there's not more defensive ends available. And I don't know if it's because more colleges are going to 3-4s and things are just a little different now. But these last several years, you think about top 5 picks, those stud pass rushers are from the outside have gone early and nobody there. And then there really aren't that many top line corners this year either. So
yeah,
that's usually what you see in the first round as corners and defensive ends or what they're calling edge now, I guess.
Right.
I gotta read a tweet from Schefter to you guys. So Sean Payton wanted and intended to draft Patrick Mahomes in the 2017 draft when he held the 11th pick. He was ready to turn the card, but before he could, the Chiefs traded up to the Bills spot at number 10 and took Mahomes one spot before Payton got him, leaving the Saints to draft Ohio State cornerback Marshawn Lattimore. Payton feels as strongly about Bo Nix becoming something special as he did Mahomes.
That's a nice thing to say about someone that you pretty much had no other
option.
Hyperbole.
Yeah, what? I had to read that. I was like, what?
Well, to be fair, nobody knew how good Mahomes was going to be until the next year, but still.
And the Bengals decided sitting with a fine but not great Andy Dalton was the play there and to get him a receiver instead of get Patrick Mahomes. Again, love me some Joe Burrow, but there are so many you could have gotten that guy picks the last handful of years.
I'm fine with how it worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, Mark could have Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. Jackson went 30. Last pick in the round wasn't. Yeah, he was 32nd. He was the last pick of the round.
Yeah, he was the last pick. Yeah, of the first round.
So what are the? Again, Colts would have picked by now, or would have traded by now. So I'm going to say they're going with either Cooper DeJean or Quinion Mitchell.
Here's a tidbit for you. Tony Gerdeman is on Twitter. He says J.J. McCarthy is the first Michigan offensive skill player to be selected in the first round of the draft since Braylon Edwards in 2005.
I was going to go Chris Perry, but that was the same draft, wasn't it?
Yeah, so Edwards was drafted higher. Or wait, was Perry the year before?
I think. I don't remember. I know he was on the 05 team.
That was the year that the Bengals could have taken Steven Jackson, and they kept trading down.
I like the Chris Perry pick. I have no problem with the pick. The problem is he just got hurt.
Well, they used him pretty well that rookie year. He had like 51 catches as a rookie running back. And
his hands were amazing.
It looked really good at the time.
But
the other side of that was Michigan ran him into the ground. He had games of 40-plus carries multiple times. And
with all these defensive guys, no defensive guys off the board yet, you think the Bengals may trade down?
There's a possibility. I would rather them take the guy that they want.
They've got 10 draft picks.
Well, the only time I would be cool with them trading down is if it gave them an extra, like you trade back, you add a couple late picks, and you add another, like, and
then you move back up
for a first round pick, and you add another pick in the second round or early third. The more premium, day 1, day 2 picks, cool. Trade all your, they've been terrible at getting guys on day 3. Trade all of those picks just to get more guys in the. You
got to get another punter.
Day 1, do 2. Yeah.
But the reason nobody on defense have been picked yet is there's not that many premium guys. So if they only like the 2 defensive tackles, and Murphy and Newton, they can't afford to go too far, right? If they don't absolutely love 3 to 5 guys, you can't trade down too far.
Yeah,
there's been, or that Mims kid from Georgia. There's been a lot of talk about him too.
Yeah, he's got the size, and Mims just. If you're drafting a guy that's going to be redshirted, then you'll immediately start thinking about Cedric Ogbuehi. And again, the 2 different issues. I mean, Ogbuehi was knee injury, whereas Mims just haven't had a ton of snaps and wouldn't need to be tossed into the mix. But
I wonder if he could play guard.
The only guy that was that high that had guard playability was Fuaga. That's the guy that throw him in at left tackle this year, and that move him out to right tackle next year if you let Trent Brown go.
Yeah, when we talk about a guy like Mims and we say he has the size they like at tackle, I don't really want my 6'8", 330-pound guy to be a guard. I don't know. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But
yeah, granted, their guards are 6'4". I mean, Kappa's or 6'6". I mean, Kappa's 310. Volson is 315. So they're not as beefy, but they have some.
They're tall. Yeah, they're not.
And they've got a NBA size lineup. I mean, Kappa is the short guy with 6'4". Their guards are 6'6", and their tackles are 6'8". I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. As Gunner's saying, Troy Fautanu. Hang on, I gotta check my pronunciation guide. Where Fautanu? Yeah, okay, I had that right. Played had guard or played some guard too.
Colts went Latu.
Yeah, they won Latu. Okay, cool. It's a good pick. That also means Bengals. I don't think that they're going edge now for sure. But
first defensive pick.
Yeah, people think that he's going to be an absolute.
At number 15.
Yeah, they think that he's going to be an absolute stud.
I watched him destroy Caleb Williams this year. Like, obviously, that's not his matchup, but he sacked Caleb Williams. It seemed like he probably hit him like 8 times in that game. I watched that game.
Good. Again, we're not Caleb Williams fans here for not that we've got any specific reason. I just don't think he's that good of a quarterback.
Well, and I've been wrong before about these things, but I just don't see it quite that much. I mean, again, I don't know. We'll see how good he is, but to be number 1 overall, and you give up, they traded Fields and they didn't get much for him. No. Certainly, Fields didn't do enough to show that he's a franchise quarterback. I understand that, but
yeah, I also don't think he didn't show enough like that he could be your franchise quarterback. You know what I'm
Well-
saying? Like I feel like there was definitely a world where he ended up being very good for the Bears.
And
if he
there's
did one more year, but it's just
the contract window factor comes
yeah.
into play, obviously, because of they were going to have to make a decision on Fields soon, and now they've got multiple years to wait on Caleb Williams' contract to really get big.
You guys think if the Panthers were just bad and not the worst team in the league, Fields would still be the quarterback there? Like if the Bears had like pick 4.
I don't know.
So who would have? I mean, so that would have been the
Or
Washington
pick 3.
taken.
Pick 3, I'll say.
Okay, so
you could get Daniels or May.
Yeah,
if you move it around, so Washington would have had the first pick, like if
Yeah, I'm saying like the Bears had like pick 3. Yeah. Do you think Fields? Do you think they would have traded Fields or no?
I think Daniels would have gone first.
Okay.
I honestly, I think that pick is perfect for Washington, and I think Caleb Williams probably would have gone second. Like he just had the pedigree, and like he's a guy that you kind of have to pick that high because he's got he won he won at 2 big programs, and he's got numbers. I just whether it's the it factor, whether it's
the it factor is 100% there. He makes some plays that you're like, wow, but like there's also. I think he very much has a lot of boom or bust potential. Like I think he's either going to be really damn good or just bad bust is my take on it.
Kingsbury might have wanted Caleb Williams because he was an analyst for USC and he'd been around him.
Maybe and there's a lot and people point to the good in Caleb Williams' game as Mahomes-esque. I guess, and I mean, obviously, Kingsbury had Mahomes in college. I think people look at Mahomes like off balance, off platform throws and able to improvise, and are weighting that higher than the fact that Patrick Mahomes is just a damn good quarterback, no matter what the situation is, whether it's working out of a 3-step drop, working his progressions, or improvising. Like he's fantastic. Like he's the best quarterback since Manning probably. And so just looking at a prospect that can make these off-platform throws or can make these improvisational throws, like that's not what makes Patrick Mahomes. Like don't think that like because he can make these throws on the run or throw from like weird arm angles and stuff like that. Like that's great, but you still need to be able to read a defense and get your team in a best play.
Joe, could we talk for a minute about the quote unquote silly season between the end of the regular season or the end of the bowl season and the draft itself? If you went back to 2021 and you looked at the quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence was always going to go number 1, right? But the way Justin Fields played against Clemson in the semifinal that year just balled out completely. There's people on Twitter, even draft analysts saying, "Oh, you got the number 1 and number 2 quarterback in the draft coming up." And then what happens over the next couple months? Zach Wilson. I mean, he goes up there. The 49ers trade up and take what's his name? Trey Lance. Hadn't even played really. And who knows? But if Fields goes to San Francisco, or if Fields goes to a Jets team that ends up having like Garrett Wilson and some of those guys, I can't help but wonder what Fields would have done for those teams instead of going to the Bears, which is like a graveyard of quarterbacks. And you look at this year too; the same things happen.
Your butt showing there, Seth.
Well, but no, look at this year. Look at this year. JJ McCarthy was not a top 10 pick as of December, whatever. Even Daniels moved up in part, I think, because of winning the Heisman. Yeah. Like during the season, this past season, those 2 guys were not regarded that highly as far as being first round or top 10 picks. And then some people get talked into things in the underwear Olympics and all that sort of thing.
Mike, the Mike Mamula quotient of guys just falling in love with measurables and stuff like that. Like you still have to have the tape. I don't know enough about the Bears situation to know why Trevor Fields, like, was it just poor coaching and poor support? Again, the guy running the football the guy was amazing, and being able to, again, he had an absolute laser arm. I mean, you look some of the throws he makes, and you're like, holy shit, that looks like Michael Vick out there, just the flick of the wrist and just launching it downfield. Did he struggle was it just bad decisions? Was it bad footwork? Was it, what's the not read a defense? I don't, again,
he holds the ball too long. He's always held the ball too long. And I can go that way too, Bill, being the Buckeye that I am. He has always held the ball way too long. But he's also been in at least 2, maybe 2.5 systems in his 3 years as a Bear. Even this past year with the whole new coaching staff that was supposed to nurture him and take him to the next level. After 2 or 3 weeks of the season, he was quoted saying something he probably shouldn't have about, the not liking the coaching situation and things like that. I mean, but it was clear after that they actually kind of played to his strengths more. I'm just amazed that, the Bears, for Caleb Williams' sake, you hope he doesn't get run into the ground like some of these other guys, but there's not been a good Bears quarterback. There's not been a franchise level Bears quarterback in our lifetimes. Probably not even yours, Bill.
No, I agree with you.
Jim McMahon was good for a couple years.
Good.
But I mean,
good and a good leader.
Yeah.
But he's not Dan Marino.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, they've never had a quarterback that I can remember that anybody feared.
No. Jake Cutler's probably the most talented quarterback they had.
Good arm, but man.
That's probably the most talented.
Fun as hell to watch.
Oh yeah.
So where
really
do
fun to watch when you have what's that?
Where do we think Seattle's going here?
That's my concern with them taking Byron Murphy or John. They will take. They just took
Byron Murphy.
Yeah.
Did they?
So that's good pick. Again, that was the team because Jaguars are. I don't think Jaguars are going tackle. I can see them going edge here, getting Dallas Turner or Verse or someone like that.
Yeah. So where do we think the Bengals are going? You think they'll go with the kid from Illinois, Newton?
Johnny Newton or
Mitchell?
Mims or Fautanu?
I bet they go Mims at this point, given what we know about the Bengals and what they like.
If I had to put money on it, I'd go with Mims, but
and knowing they have Trent Brown to kind of be the John Kitna to his Carson Palmer.
Maybe they trade back with the Rams. I mean, it's only one spot, but Rams have been thirsting to move up, and this is the Rams' first round pick since 2016. Jared Goff was their last first round pick.
That's amazing.
That's crazy.
So 8 drafts in between, 7 drafts.
They won a Super Bowl, I mean,
they I don't want to say mortgage, everything, but they traded up to get Goff, which cost them draft picks, and they traded, all the other picks to get bodies, and it worked for them. I mean, flags fly forever, man. They got a ring, but 8 years later, be making your next. I saw that. I'm like, that can't be right. But no, I looked like, Jared Goff was their last first round pick.
Sounds like George Allen with the Redskins.
Yeah,
trade them all.
Yeah, picks. I mean, it's like prospects in baseball. There's no such thing as a prospect. There's no such thing as just get the guy who you know.
Well, some people think picks are more valuable than they really are, and some people don't think they're worth anything. So
yeah. There's. I mean, it's a crapshoot, and the Bengals are not a great. I mean, the Bengals historically have struggled drafting. They've struggled bringing in guys in free agency, and they've just struggled. You just nail the right picks with Burrow and Jamar Chase, and it covers over some words. But this is an incredibly important draft. Like, they need to not only draft the right guys, but develop them.
That's where I struggle with the idea of a tackle that we're not going to get anything out of this year. I think our window is not going to be open forever.
Yeah,
agreed.
And to pick a guy, that's why I don't want to pick in a wide receiver early. Wide receiver, I don't think helps them much this year. Not as long as T's still here. Everybody said we've got a draft to replace T. Higgins. I'm worried about that next year, next draft. To me, and unless they see a big drop off from Murphy to Newton, the biggest need on this team is defensive tackle.
Yeah, you're right about that.
And maybe you're pushing him up a little higher than he should be, but you're addressing a need for your team.
Hey, Joe, can ESPN has Fautano from Washington listed as a guard. Is he a guy that could play both? Are we thinking that, or?
Yeah, he can play both. I don't know.
I can't imagine a guard being ranked that highly. He's second on Mel Kiper's best available right now, behind Turner.
I think because they project him as rated that high because of the tackle ability. So yeah, Gunnar says he plays both. So
thank you, Gunnar.
Yeah, we'll see what the
which that could help this year, Bill.
Yeah,
getting better play at one of the guard positions, and then having the insurance in case Trent Brown gets hurt.
Yeah, yep. I'm cool if they replace Volson. Like he played great the last handful of games, but he was 24 years old coming into the league. Like, and
yeah, he's already
from a small school. Yeah.
Well, but if he's an extra guard,
right?
If he's
like that's cool.
Yeah,
that's depth.
Yeah. Let's look at the last just since Joe Burrow 2020 draft, they got 3 starters out of that and roster fodder. You got Burrow, Higgins, Wilson, but then Davis Gaither is a third linebacker. Khalid Kareem, Akeem Deneji, Marcus Bailey, just roster scrap. 2021 draft, Jamar Chase, stud. Jackson
Good
Carman.
Pick.
I don't understand why. I don't understand how Jackson Carman was still on the roster.
I don't either.
Osai is still waiting for him to to do something after 3 years. Cam Sample, I like Cam Sample as a good rotational piece. Like he plays hard and he makes plays when he's out there, but he's rotational. Tyler Shelvin, nothing. Deontay Smith, gone. Evan McPherson, cool. Like extra pick, so you draft a kicker. I'm okay with that. Trey Hill can't get on the line. Chris Evans, they seem to have forgotten about him. And White Huber retired and then unretired. 2022 pick, Dax Hill. What's Dax Hill? We don't know.
We don't
Cam
know.
Taylor Britt. Okay, cool pick. Cam Taylor Britt was a good pick. Zach Carter, still waiting for him to do something if he's a 3 technique or what, but he's a 3 technique. He's definitely getting bumped down the draft or the depth chart. Cordell Volson, yeah, he's a starter, but he's a low end starter. Tyson Anderson is a depth guy at safety. Jeffrey Gunner, depth guy. Last year the draft picks. Miles Murphy.
Don't know.
What's that?
I said don't know about Murphy yet.
Yeah, exactly. I think Miles Murphy's going to be really good. So
now the good thing is,
Joe, you're higher on Murphy than anybody I know.
Yeah, Vikings are back on the clock.
But seriously, and that's great. I mean, I hope you're right.
That's not good.
Yeah, the Vikings moved up.
Yeah,
and the pick is already in.
Yeah.
Hey, the good news is, though, the Bengals have shown their willingness to get the free agents to fill the holes, as opposed to
Dallas
for a long
Turner,
stretch
okay.
there.
Okay, they went with Dallas Turner.
Okay, that's fine.
Bengals are on the clock.
So what do you guys thinking they go here? What do you think they go here?
I bet Mims.
I say 50-50 Mims or Johnny Newton. They were high on Newton. I've been wanting all along Johnny Newton.
Okay.
Bill?
I hope it's Newton.
Parker?
I'm with you guys. I hope it's Newton. I kind of have a feeling they might go offensive line, though. I don't know.
I think with them getting Trent Brown, they don't need to go offensive line. And there are guys, there's guys later in the draft that they can get for defensive tackle, but I think Johnny Newton is second best defensive player behind Latu. Again, there's still cornerbacks. I mean, cornerback is never a bad pick. DJ Turner fell off at the end of last year.
Do you think? I don't know if they've given up on him yet. The way
I don't think they've given up on him, but it's but I mean, just more bodies in there.
Yeah, you need more. You need more.
You can get a top 10 talent at pick 18 in a spot that you always want guys in there. I mean, Bengals' fourth cornerback averages over 500 snaps a year.
Mm-hmm. Well, But Dax Hill in his position he was playing last year, it feels like they've given up on that. Whereas with Turner, I
as
feel like
safety, yeah,
they're still waiting to see.
I don't know what they're going to do with him. I mean, he's really athletic.
Yeah,
but and this is terrible to say, but mental mistakes, which you saw his rookie year on special teams, and they went along into his second year playing safety full time.
Well, when your coach right after the game says things like, "That's a coverage we run all the time," and he went the wrong way.
Yeah,
if you get thrown under the bus that easily,
that's why I love Lou.
Yeah,
he does not mince words.
No, he does not give a shit. He just says what's on his mind.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a secondary coach, so when that's the guy, you know, when your defensive coordinator is a secondary coach by trade, and like he's going to have a little higher expectations. Like if he's going to go to bat for you, I mean, he was high, you know, well in on the pick for Dax Hill, and he's going to go to bat for you, and you're screwing up shit that I don't say it's day one install stuff, but just stuff isn't, you know, where your assignment is, and you're screwing that
pretty
up.
Early.
Yeah.
Well, you had a whole year of being on the sidelines and watching.
Yeah. But I mean, what was Dax Hill in college? Slot corner.
Yeah, he was more. Mike Hilton's been very good for the Bengals, but how many people have we said in the last 3 years could have played that position?
Yeah. And Mike Hilton's up to his last year on his deal, and Mike Hilton's a different guy. Mike Hilton's 5 foot.
He's tiny, but he's
175 pounds. Like he's got the absolute dog in him. I mean, you see how the hits that he puts on guys like Derrick Henry or horses like Josh Allen. You can't teach that, but he gets abused.
He's the best blitzer from the slot that I've ever seen.
It's ridiculous. Someone that small. I mean, you almost wondered if he gets lost. Like all of a sudden he just he just appears in in the gap, and like
that's what I think it is. They just forget about him, kind of.
Yeah, but he gets absolutely abused by tight ends when they can match that up.
Nice glasses.
So that's that's something that Dax Hill has the size. I mean, he's 6'1", and he's got the speed. I mean, he's 4.3 speed, and that's another thing that
I'm just not seeing that. Wow.
Yeah,
but a lot of people like Sanders still out of Michigan.
It's Mims.
We went
Mims.
It's Mims. Okay. It's boring,
Sorry,
but
Bill.
It's boring, but okay.
Then they got to go defensive tackle in the second round. Have to.
Yeah.
Did the Bengals have a type at offensive tackle or what?
Yeah. And it's boring but smart.
Well, you hope it is. I mean, his lack of reps in college is a little troubling.
Yeah, but then you look at the actual. I mean, he played at Georgia. He didn't play at Georgia State. He's going up against SEC.
Well, there was a guy named Munoz that didn't play much in college either.
What's that?
There was a guy named Munoz that didn't play a whole lot in college either.
Yeah. So, but you're also getting a guy who's fresher. You're getting a guy who doesn't have all those all the wear and tear on his knees. So,
and frankly, that's the problem with all the Alabama offensive linemen over the years, right? I mean, a lot of them, at least the ones we got, Nick Saban beat those guys up. Most of the running backs too, except for King Henry.
Yeah, and that guy somehow is still going strong. Yeah, 6 starts, 682 career snaps. Smart pick.
Boring pick, like you said, but
yeah, smart, boring, but it's
my struggle is that it's a depth pick.
I agree with you on that.
But Trent Brown's also a guy who struggled with play. He struggled with motivation. He struggled with health. So,
well, then
is it a depth pick?
Yes, but it's not like a glaring hole. It's not like a glaring hole right now.
2025 it is, though, and this is you build guys. I mean, this is a Joe Burrow pick. We want this guy to be able to be upright in the fourth quarter when it's time to make winning plays.
If they're looking at this as 2025, it's a depth pick. If they're worried about the right tackle only being healthy for 10 games next year, then it was a bad signing.
Yeah.
Well, they needed that signing. They needed some guys so that they didn't have to take a tackle. I think Mims is their guy that they wanted because he fits their size, but they didn't have to go, reach for a guy. If teams know that you have to draft a tackle, or they need to take that spot, anyone with a need behind you, they're going to trade up and they're going to come right in front of you and take that guy.
If they had one or two more worthy backups in 2022, they would have gone to the Super Bowl for the second straight year.
Exactly. If they had any better backups in 2021, they'd have won the Super Bowl.
That's right.
Well, and I'm not trying to act like depth, especially on the offensive line, isn't important. It's absolutely important. But I don't think, building depth doesn't necessarily have to be done in the first round. Time will tell whether this was a good pick. Time will tell whether this was a good pick.
He can go and win a job. He can go win a job over Trent Brown. Then you have Trent Brown as your swing tackle, and that's fantastic.
Well, but frankly, they haven't picked offensive linemen well, as we've noted already. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if it was the first round or day 2 or day 3.
I think Jonah gets a bad rap. I don't think he was not a bad player.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah. He was better than Fisher and Obuehi.
Yeah.
Well, so would I.
Well, and talking about going into the draft knowing that, teams knowing that you need to get a specific spot. Look what happened last time they needed a center. Someone came in and swooped James Daniel out right from under their feet, and they ended up having to go Billy Price, which, netted us B.J. Hill, but that's, you don't want to be in a position where teams are going to come swoop you. So you're left picking, having to reach for guys.
Did you see on the bust versus where they were good picks chart? And it was a little flawed because it was who got a second contract with the team that drafted him. But at the center position, there was only one bust.
12 picks, 11 got a second contract, and Billy Price.
And the bank.
But hey, B.J. Hill has been a gift.
Yeah, that was a great pick. Even if he was just a mediocre football player, the guy's an absolute gem. You see him in the locker room, you see him on video, the guy's just fantastic. The guy's hilarious. He's got an awesome personality. So that's one of those guys. Even if just keep that guy around. I don't care if he doesn't do anything at all. So
there's a video right now of the Falcons GM explaining himself to Arthur Blank, and Arthur Blank looks pissed.
Spent $100 million. He's he has. I had his contract up here. Kirk Cousins has a dead cap hit of $25 million. In 2025. So he's their quarterback for the next 2 years.
Will you pull that up, Joe? I'm about to show you guys this video. It's funny.
Yeah,
just click on it. It's at the bottom.
Oh,
I think
you sent
you
it.
need to approve it. Yeah, you need to approve it. Yep.
I got you.
All right. Let me press play on this.
Really try and put a stranglehold, so to speak, on the South and really see if you can.
But I gave that quarterback money.
150 plus.
I'm gonna have to sell 3 Home Depots tomorrow because of this.
No, it's like he's talking to Bill about needing depth.
Depth quarterbacks.
He's getting quarterback depth early.
That's right. I need that quarterback depth, baby.
You told me his Achilles was fine. Why do we need depth?
$100 million doesn't buy you a whole lot of job security.
No, clearly.
Does anybody believe that Mims is there? I can't believe he's at the.
No, I don't think he's one of the 13. There was only 13, Bill.
Oh, was there only 13? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Turner was there. That's why he had those glasses. But
it was $180 million Kirk Cousins deal. Dear God.
Yeah.
And you draft a quarterback.
How about the man with the John Kitna jersey? Look at that.
The John Kitna Lions jersey?
Bengals.
Oh, okay.
The football coach at Lakota East High School.
Yeah, they're bad. What's funny is they brought him from Texas to coach.
And they're going to be worse this year because his son graduated.
Jeez.
My son went to Lakota West. So
I was going to say Lakota West was I was a senior the year that they split into East and West. So I remember the old Lakota Thunderbirds.
West had a mediocre program till Bolton came over from Coleraine, and then they went.
Well, and look what happened to Coleraine.
Yeah.
they're awful.
Now they're showing him playing right tackle, which is key.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not upset with it. Like, I'm not here slamming stuff down. I lost my shit when they drafted Levi Jones. I'm like, this is a dumb, awful pick. And he was fine, but I was also younger and a kid. Again, it's fine. It's a smart pick. It's a boring pick. It's a safe pick. It fits the guys that they want.
If he doesn't pan out, though, like, something's got to change with our scouting of offensive linemen. Like, seriously.
Duke Tobin, like, it's not going to happen because Duke Tobin, I think, was adopted and is actually a Brown, a child of the Brown
He's
family
a
now.
family member now.
But he needs to be on the hot seat because he hasn't. I mean, lots of the Bengals have a history of winning, like of being like champions. The trophy case is pretty empty. Last handful of drafts have just been terrible. Like, not getting a whole lot of outside of like huge guys like Chase and Higgins and Burrow. You're not getting a lot of hits on guys. You're not getting anything out of third round guy or a third day guys. You can point to Yosevas or Charlie Jones. Great. What do those guys really do? Like, yeah, they made some plays, but can't count as those guys as being you can't chalk those guys up as being great picks. Chase Brown, I think he's going to have a really good year, but can't chalk him up as being a great pick. Like, this is someone last year that had part-time. Jordan Battle, okay, cool. But you have to go do some deep diving to see some good draft picks that the Bengals have made in the last handful of years. So
Jordan Battle was their best pick last year.
Yeah, that was fantastic. That was one I was kind of, when they picked him, I'm like, that's weird, but and then he was the best, 8th best safety in the entire NFL.
But one thing about this roster is that it's such a better roster than some of the ones over the years. Now, obviously, 2013 through 15, it was probably one of the better rosters in the league. But aside from that, if we're looking at some of the other rosters this team has had pre-Joe Burrow, they had holes everywhere, and they needed depth everywhere. And I guess my thing is the offensive line has been a little more close to average, last year than it had been. So in reality, the defensive line is really one of the weaker spots as we go into this year. Yeah. And so I think Bill's got a valid point.
Look at it this way. Mims is only 20 tomorrow. Yeah. Mims is also only 21 years old. He's young. Yeah. He has absolute just pterodactyl arms. 36-inch arms, which is crazy, and like
better than T-Rex arms.
Right, exactly. Those are the arms that you want if you're trying to keep Myles Garrett from absolutely destroying your game. Mm-hmm. As fast as that guy is, as quick as he is, as strong as he is, if you have those absolute 85-foot-long arms to be able to keep him, push him around the arc, to give let Burrow step up in the pocket. I mean, Myles Garrett is the reason why they picked him. Jared Verse going
Lapham seems to like him in the things I've read.
Yeah.
For whatever that's worth. I don't know if Dave's a good, historically a good judge of talent, but
I'll never forget him being on Zeitler, and he was so right on that pick that year. And somebody in that front office feeds Lapham stuff before he goes on with Dan Horde, because they trumpet how often he's right, and he had Mims too. So somebody's giving him the intel before he records that podcast every year.
Yeah.
Well, boys, I'm going to sign off since we got our pick in. Y'all take care.
Coming on.
Bill, so good to talk to you again.
Okay, thanks for having me.
See you, buddy.
If it's fun, I'm about to head out of here too.
Parker, as always, I think we'll wrap up here in just a minute. We'll finish.
I'm about to go watch that Lakers game. Go watch that.
All right, see you, buddy. See you, Parker.
See ya.
All right, Seth. This seems like everyone else is ditched, so this might be a good time to put a pin in it.
The youngest and the oldest one are gone, so I guess
just those middle-aged guys.
It might be our bedtime soon too, right?
I know. No, I mean, my wife's probably already asleep. We're flying tomorrow, and then my kids are gone. I guess they say goodnight to my kids. Oh well. They see enough of me. They're probably
my son's still awake. I can hear him. I texted him about Mims because he's watching on TV, and he's like, yawn.
Yeah, I guarantee I got a 14-year-old. My son's a freshman, so like I guarantee he's still up, and he's surprised he hasn't texted me. Like, either complaining or
Boring.
going on about the pick. So,
Keeping Joe upright is not boring, in my opinion, though.
It's the smart play. Since they also got Sheldon Rankins, that also took away the need for an immediate guy to come in as and rush the quarterback from the interior offensive line. It'll be interesting to see when they attack, if they go second round, third round with Mekhi Wingo from LSU, or day four. There's no day four. Day four is Sunday, and everyone will have been picked by then. That's undrafted free agent. Hey,
Jared Verse to the Rams. We didn't bring that up.
Day three was someone like Devondre Sweat. People took him down because of the DUI. He's got some maturity issues, but if there's a team that I think has the leadership and also likes getting a bargain, that guy is. People are going to look at him and see Tyler Shelvin. This isn't Tyler Shelvin. This is a guy that actually made plays.
He's really good.
Like he made like his numbers and his tape is fantastic. You worry about durability and stuff like that because he's so damn big, but if they can get him, I wouldn't be upset if they got him the end of round 3, or absolutely not if he's available in round 4. So
Geno Atkins was a 3rd round pick, if I remember right.
Yeah,
wasn't he? So, and certainly that was a height probably thing more than anything. But you think of him, and I mean, it's a little less, it's a little more out of character these days to take those guys. Like I remember the era when Kelly Washington was supposed to be a first or second round talent, but they got him when they did because of certain things, and Odell Thurman. And
that draft with Kelly Washington was weird because that also was the same draft as Dennis Weathersby, who was a borderline first round pick, but dropped because he got shot on Easter Sunday.
Yeah, that's right. And Carlos Dunlap had his little run in with a little bit of a intoxication issue leading up to the draft when the Bengals took him. But these past few years, those types of picks haven't been made by the Bengals. But I think your point is the locker room is a mature one, and there's some good leaders in there, especially on that line. Assuming Trey gets back into line and decides to come to work, they've got the character already there, and I think Carlos Dunlap turned out to be a pretty model citizen for the most part in his career, and I remember the story was it was the first time he'd ever drank, and that was hard to believe, but he swore by that, and up until being disgruntled with the new coaching staff and not wanting to work as hard as Lou probably wanted him to, I thought he was a pretty model citizen and a really good player for the Bengals.
Yeah, really good player for a long time. Quick question as an aside: can you ever be gruntled? You can be disgruntled. Can you be regruntled?
Regruntled. I like that better. Regruntled.
I mean, Dunlap's issue. I mean, that's the same issue that part of the reason why he was a second rounder as well is because he had motivation issues, but his motor wasn't always like he was the anti high motor guy.
Sure.
When he was motivated, he was unstoppable. I mean, he was huge. He was 6'7", 6'8". Again, crazy long arms to get around the end. Again, getting him and Atkins in the same draft. Atkins was a 4th rounder. That was the Jordan Shipley. Jordan Shipley was the 3rd rounder that year. Talking about Texas draft picks.
With Dunlop, the motor part didn't bother me as much while he was really good because those guys don't play every down anyway for the most part. And it wasn't until, first of all, Lou and Zach didn't know him yet, right? So they expected everybody to come to work every day and put in the work, and they were used to the veteran days off and all the different things. And when his play took a dip and they asked him to work harder, he from all accounts didn't like that. I will say I remember it was already known that he wasn't very happy, and he came over and dapped up Joe Burrow after a scramble on a play. Would have been probably the last home game probably before he got hurt there in his rookie year.
Yeah.
And Dunlap came over and really showed some good camaraderie and sportsmanship with his teammate and things like that. So even when he wasn't maybe the happiest guy in the building, I didn't think he was a bad guy. So yeah. But I will say Geno Atkins was in a very similar position as far as and probably actually more so as far as his skill level degrading. But you never heard a complaint out of him at all. So both those two guys handled things very differently.
Also, Geno Atkins set the stage so guys like Aaron Donald could go that high, because I mean Donald is an absolute clone size, like height, weight, uh, the tape and everything coming out of Pitt looked exactly like Geno Atkins coming out of Georgia, and got him a first round deal. And then you see guys last year, Kalisha Cansey, who was another guy the exact same size, so they realized that someone that short.
How did Cansey do this year? I don't remember him playing.
Don't remember, to be honest with you. Like that's
I kind of wanted the Bengals to try go get him, but
I would have been okay with that. The Buccaneers, like I thought they were a bad team, but they made the playoffs. Like so I didn't even follow them because they weren't interesting to me, so I really didn't pay too much attention. I played 14 games, 4 sacks. He was 10th in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting, for whatever that's worth. So,
well, 4 sacks from the interior when you're a rookie, that's not too bad.
Yeah, it's something that's getting like you're getting limited, most likely getting limited run out there. So definitely something to build off of. Again, I would have been happy. Steelers went with Fautanu. So the guy that the Bengals could have gotten, but doesn't fit there.
Chris Garber tweeted, "I would trade the Week 18 win against Cleveland for Byron Murphy."
See, that's the thing. Like, Bengals didn't miss the playoffs, and yet they looked at it, because of the tiebreakers, because they had the best strength of schedule, like the strongest strength of schedule. They got the worst pick of every team. Like they had the worst draft position of everybody who didn't make the playoffs, even though they had they're tied the same record with several teams.
Whoa.
So who's next? Dolphins are on the. I don't even care about these guys. We've been going about an hour and a half here. That's probably a good place to stick a pin in it for the night. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do tomorrow. I'm going to. Again, obviously, I'm going to be out of town, so we will not be doing a full show tomorrow. I will be throwing some shorts. Hopefully, have some guests with maybe 2 legs, maybe 4 legs. If I can get Pluto to do a YouTube short with me, it would absolutely make my day. Pluto is my favorite Disney character. I will definitely tell him that he is that, just to have him come on a short with me to.
Do you know
do some conversation?
If you don't know this already, and if you do see this happen, I want you to let me know if it works. I always heard if you see a Toy Story toy like Andy or whatever or Buzz, if you Andy was the kid, Woody or Buzz, if you yell Andy as if he's there, they're supposed to just fall down. I didn't get to have that happen, but if you get a chance, give it a try.
The problem is, and Toy Story Land over in Hollywood Studios is so busy and crowded.
Oh yeah.
And it's so hot. What's that?
We went straight there. Like, we were there when the park opened, and we had, I guess because we were on resort, we had passes to get in technically before it opened.
Early, yeah.
And they let you go to a certain point, and then when it actually opened, they let you go even further. And so we went straight to the Toy Story area, and my kids were a little older, and my youngest didn't glom on to Toy Story like the oldest did when he was little. So it was basically just ride to ride, and we saw Woody, but we didn't go up to him.
That's our plan on Saturday. Like we've got lunch reservations at the Hollywood Brown Derby, so we're going to be there at Rope Drop to try to get to Toy Story Land. Just it's
a fun ride. It's a good ride, and it's a good little area back there.
Yeah, so it's there's not a lot of shade, and it's just really damn hot. So you try to get that out of the way as soon as possible earlier in the day, and then move on. We went
to one of the character dinners the first night we were there, and it was I forget what night of the week it was, but we got Mickey Mouse to do the OHIO. Like, my 2 sons and I were, and he was the H. So
I might have to teach somebody down the drive with the my wife is going to look at me like, "What is wrong with you? You are
What is wrong with
3
you?"
years old."
My wife
Grow
was
up.
sick as a dog when we got down there that time, and she came to the dinner and she just barely ate. And we did OHIO, and she liked that, but she was just like completely out of it.
Apparently became a safety
Oh,
issue. I can see
well,
people just ragdolling in the middle of the
I
in the middle
guess,
of the
yeah.
farm mat causing an issue.
We had my son. My son was how old would he have been? He I forget how old he was, but he was really into Toy Story. He was my oldest son, and we were there for the parade, right? And they stopped the parade, and the characters get off the floats and go around and like say hi to people. And Woody went to see a little boy in a wheelchair, and of course, my son wanted to see Woody too, so he made a beeline. And he was respectful to wait till Woody was done, but the handler was trying to get Woody back up on the float. We got to go, we
Yep.
got to go. And my son just bear hugged him. And he was like, "No, we're not. I want my hug first."
It's fun. It's great seeing, like, even if it's, my kids, I've got a obviously our kids aren't going. They get to stay home in beautiful Cincinnati while we're in Florida. So, well, like, my daughter's 8, my son's jaded and 14. Like, they don't even get as much kick. But you see these little kids absolutely just light up like a Christmas tree seeing these characters. And it's like, it is so cool.
Yeah, it's better than when the kids are scared of him,
Yeah.
because that happens too.
Yeah, you see the little kids that like, that's yeah. You see a 6.5-foot mouse. That's a little unnerving.
Well, maybe we should sign off soon. We've devolved into Disney talk.
Never
The
bad to honestly.
The
Tim,
Steelers take the guard / tackle from Washington.
Tanu. Yeah, if Tim's gonna be mad if we're talking Disney without him, he's the king of all Disney conversation. So, all right, guys, Bengals first pick, Amarius Mims. Again, smart choice, makes sense. Boring, but we're cool with it, right?
Well, I'm more cool with it because I trust them. I don't love all their draft picks at
Weird
offensive
saying.
line, but I trust their process, I guess, and what they think is best. And they're going to try to protect Joe Burrow with behemoths, and they got one.
They got some big old beefy boys. Real quick, Dolphins pick Chop Robinson edge out of Penn State. Surprised he went this early. I thought he'd be middle of second round, maybe around when the Bengals pick at 49. So
Yeah, I wouldn't have been upset about him coming our way.
yeah, exactly. He said, guys, stay tuned. Tomorrow is Friday. Riverfront Red Show will be out. This will be in the audio feeds as well for those that didn't catch it. You're hearing it on there, which meant that I do have it up in your feeds already. We'll have some shorts going on through the rest of the weekend with reactions for the rest of their picks. Tomorrow is when the work really starts to happen. That's when you're seeing how well they did a great job, how well of a job they did scouting and finding I don't say you're not going to get nuggets out of the second, mining for nuggets in the second round, but that's when you see the strength of your of the scouting and finding guys that maybe are first round talents. So we shall see what happens there. Seth, appreciate you coming on. This was a whole heck of a lot of fun.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Real quick, who do you have next coming on Redleg Roundtable?
Well, we just dropped Daniel Jacob Horine, and he was a little bit of a different type of guest. He's done the Pop Fly shop, and they're prints that look like comic book covers, and he's done a lot of good Reds ones. And so I had him on, and we're coming out every 2 weeks. So I've got a few lines in the water. We're going a few different directions here in these next few weeks. I've got some more players on tap possibly, but this show is going to be about telling the story of the Reds from all different angles. So I'm looking forward to Matt Andrews, he used to be the Louisville Bats broadcaster. He and Jim Kelch, who was with the Reds, and he was with the Bats, I believe, from 1990 to 2007 or so.
Back down there?
He's back there.
Yeah.
He does several home games, and he does the Northern Kentucky basketball. We plan to get together in time for the next episode to drop 2 Tuesdays from now. So it should be good. They had some good times down there with some really good players, and I want to pick their brains about, Adam Dunn and Joey Votto and guys like that when they were up and coming and things like that. I know Matt thought the world of Jay Bruce when he was in AAA, and even I forget if Jay was making a rehab assignment start or something like that, coming down one time, and he sought Matt out and wanted to talk to him, say hi, things like that. It really meant the world to Matt. So I know Jay Bruce is way up there as far as guys he really cared about.
Absolutely looking forward to it. It's a cool series that you have because it's not, it's, I mean, obviously, we talk more about current events here usually. I mean, the Reds feed, my feed, and the Tim with the college or the NBA thing. It's cool having guys just get more of a personal chat with personalities, either former Reds or just Red or baseball adjacent. So it's just cool. It's you do a fantastic job. So
I appreciate that, and I guess that's the word. The word I would use is evergreen. So if you missed any of them, go back because they're not current events. The most current event type thing we talked about was when Pokey was going to be the opening day Grand Marshal of the parade. So, but that was only a small nugget of the podcast. So, any of those interviews are good. They're good refreshers on things that happen in Reds history, and you could go back and listen to them anytime.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Like I said, we'll be back throughout the weekend with some shorts, giving our thoughts on the guys who the Bengals do pick. Reds will be in your feed tomorrow morning. NBA Friday should be out there as well. So, outside of that, guys, take care.
Thanks.